the Ministry of External Affairs extends a number of consular services for passports, visas, consular services, attestations, OCI, PIO. Each of this is a charged service. Now, because these are rendered outside the country, there are rate of exchange issues which come up. Now, these are all services which came up at different points of time. So, typically they were handled, the instructions in each case were sent individually. Now, in 2017, instructions were sent regarding, because whenever there is devaluation or revaluation, there's a refixation of the rate of exchange. In 2017, instructions were sent regarding refixing of the rate of exchange. Now, the CAG paragraphs, and I want to say here that my own experience of audit and of CAG, I believe they are a very essential part of good governance. They help us to look at imperfections in our process. So CAG brought to attention two sets of issues. One related to UK. Now, in the case of UK, there should have been, according to the CAG report, a 23% increase in the fees which were charged. But our mission in UK took the view at that point that this would have a very dampening effect on the tourism from UK to India, and therefore limited it to 10%. So they did it for what they considered to be policy reasons. 17 other missions and posts in Europe, in their particular case, they were under the assumption that the instructions applied to visas and not to OCI. So they did not make the necessary changes. Now, when this matter has come to attention, we have actually, before the matter was actually taken up by CAG, sir, we had issued instructions in 2020 to rectify the process. So what we have tried to do is to put systemic checks, because that is the nature of the CAG process. The CAG wants us to make corrections so that such a mistake will not happen again. So we have instituted quarterly reporting, which is monitored through the e-Samiksha process, so that the rate of exchange on all services is monitored quarterly. Every month, the head of the consular wing is also required to report to the head of mission or head of post. And there's a mandatory revision every April, so that whatever happens, it is not slipped up due to bureaucratic delay. And there's a unified rate of all services, so that this kind of situation will not occur.
Supplementary 2.
Sir, there has been setting up of Indian cultural centers abroad. In Washington, D.C., at a cost of $5.75 million in 2013, a center was taken up, and in Paris in 2011 it was taken up, which is now encroached. Sir, in the answer, it has been given that these properties have faced certain challenges in preparing them for their intended use.
Your question.
So my question is, sir, what is the plan of action and why such a casual answer has been given?
Honorable Minister.
Sir.
Honorable Member,
Sir.
The answer was very comprehensive. I'm sure you'll take note of it. And if there is an issue, you may discuss with the Honorable Minister at mutual convenience. Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, please. No, please. Honorable Minister.
Sir, in the case of the property in Washington, it was acquired in 2013. Now, in the case of the property in Paris, it was acquired in 2011. Now, typically, and they were acquired for the purpose of cultural centers. Now, typically, sir, when properties are acquired, not built greenfield, they need to be modified for use. And that is the information which I was trying to convey to the honorable member through my answer, that there was a modification required to make it ready for use. Now, in the case of the Washington property, sir, what happened was, after the acquisition of the property, a certain set of issues came up while the matter was being processed. There were waterproofing issues, there were asbestos concerns, there was conservation work which was recommended by the architect we were looking at. And in all of this, we also faced a problem that the general financial rules of the Government of India was at variance with American practice. For example, our rules require us to take earnest money deposit, to seek a performance guarantee bond, to seek retention money, and these are not American practices. So by the time we resolved this, we actually had two issues then which came up. One, the Americans made us an offer of additional land in Washington, D.C. So then this raised a question whether we should go ahead with this project or whether we should be looking at the new land offer, which we got in 2019. The second issue was COVID, because of COVID, everything was at standstill for 2.5 years. So I would like to assure the member that since we have a property, we are giving instructions for its usage by the embassy so that a government asset is not rendered infructuous. Now, regarding the property in Paris, sir, we had, again, some very peculiarly French problems. One was the tendering practices in France are very different from us. They do not allow a general contractor who has overall supervision. So they insisted that the tender had to be split up into 15 packages, which were awarded to 10 different companies. Now, it was unfortunately, sir, a problem that one of the companies, which was in charge of structures, partitions, ceiling, and facade, went bankrupt. Now, in our country, by our procedures, we could have awarded that work to another contractor. In the French system, sir, till the liquidation was done, and the court of liquidation appointed another company to do that work, and that company then raised the price. We had to follow the French practices. So, but I would like to assure the honourable member, sir, that this project is 95% done. There are challenges when we work abroad and we have to reconcile their practices with our rules. I think we have tried to do our best under these circumstances. And I'm sure when the CAG paragraph is examined, including by the PAC, these will be issues which will be presented.
Shri Rakesh Sinha.
सभापति महोदय, मैं माननीय मंत्री जी से जानना चाहता हूं कि आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण बात कही है, इंडिया इज़ द ओल्डेस्ट होम ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी। यद्यपि हम प्राइमरी लेवल किताब में पढ़ते थे, लेकिन पहली बार भारतीय राज्य ने इसको असर्टिव तरीके से इस नैरेटिव को रखा है। क्योंकि जब हम देखते हैं यूएस में, तो व्हाइट हाउस में लिखा रहता है कि आवर फाउंडर्स लुक्ड एट द ओल्डेस्ट डेमोक्रेसी, दैट इज ग्रीस।
Your question.
So this is unsettling the entire civilizational discourse. तो क्या मंत्री जी बताएंगे कि ये जो हमारे कल्चरल सेंटर हैं, वह विदेशों में डेमोक्रेसी के ऊपर डिस्कोर्स को महत्वपूर्ण विश्वविद्यालयों में जैसे हार्वर्ड हुआ, कैम्ब्रिज हुआ, शुरू करेगा?
माननीय मंत्री जी.
Sir, I would like to inform the honourable member through you that this matter has been discussed by us with the Indian Council of Cultural Relations. We have already initiated activities with various institutions abroad through our cultural centers to emphasize the message that India is the mother of democracy, that we have a pluralistic and consultative tradition which very few societies, if anybody at all, can match. And this is very much work in progress.
Shri P. Bhattacharya ji.
I would like to know, Honorable Minister, as you have said that in Paris and Washington, the Indian Cultural Center facing some sort of problems, etc. I would like to know from you, besides this Washington and Paris, how many other countries we have this type of cultural center and who are actively functioning of spreading the Indian culture in other part of the world?
Honorable Minister.
So I do not have the exact number readily with me, but by memory, I would say we have about 45 designated cultural centers. But I would also like to inform the honourable member that today every embassy and every consulate of India undertakes cultural work. So even if there is not a separate autonomous cultural center, cultural activity is very much part of the diplomatic mandate. It is being pushed very vigorously and we have, again, sir, seen a very big change in the last decade, and that is something which is very novel.